Today we finna be watching unfair matches of the Roman Colosseum. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Some of these matches, I don't think they're gonna be that unfair. Let's get into it though.
Most brutal matchups on the list. Number 10, blind fighters. And Abadia were criminals who would be forced to fight completely blind.
I feel like if I'm fighting somebody blind, there's a chance I could possibly win that. You give me a sword and shit, like all I gotta do is just crawl until you bump into somebody, and then you just hit them in the leg, bro, with a knife. Like I feel like you can win that.
For protection, except the helmet was practically a curse, since it was completely sealed off, preventing the fighter from seeing or hearing anything.
Oh,
The
damn.
fight would begin as soon as the fighters were placed within close range of one another, with the most popular strategy being the swing and pray method,
Yeah.
which in all honesty was the only strategy available.
I was just like-
Now, the good news is that judges weren't really needed for these fights, since the winners were very easy to identify, as they were the only contestants still breathing. Now, the crazy part is that this spectacle was seen as comedic relief more than anything. And if you don't think two blind men fighting each other to the death is hilarious, well, you have a lot to learn about comedy. Now, this might not sound that unfair at first, since both men are equally blind and equipped with the same weapon. But think again, since the winner of the match would typically be rewarded with another match.
Oh, that's fucked up, bro. Yo, imagine winning just to do the same shit again, yo. Imagine going like on a fucking 50 win streak, bro, or 50 kill streak, and they still keep on making you do that, bro. Like at that point, bro, like just kill the guy, bro. At that point, just kill the guy.
One, and another one, and another one.
Another one.
You get the point. As you can imagine, a winning streak never really lasted for very long. Number 9, naval battles. There was nothing more epic than the naval battles of the Colosseum. Also, one of the most unfair, bloody,
You can have shit battles at a Colosseum.
Expensive. The event would begin by filling the Colosseum with water in around a dozen ships. It's
Yo.
estimated that thousands of prisoners would participate in these events. But let's talk about what made these battles unfair.
Well,
now, depending on the starting position of your ship, it could determine your likelihood of survival. Well, at least for a bit longer, as the odds of survival were almost non-existent to begin with. Ships that started in between two other ships would make for an easy target, easily creating a 1v2 scenario. Prisoners would invade other ships, killing everyone that stood in their way, while others would simply use the more popular strategy we see today,
how would you, like,
which is,
put
of
all that water
course,
into a
running away
Colosseum
from
back
all
in the day, though?
fights and sneaking their way to the final round, where they can hope to steal the win with a single kill. The bloody fight would come to an end when there was only one ship or team remaining. As terrible as these battles were, at least they were easy to clean up. The Romans would try their best to remove all the large debris from the water, before the stadium would be flushed like a giant toilet bowl, sending all the remains downstream for another town to deal with. Number 8, gladiator fights. Gladiator fights were the single most popular matches of the Colosseum, with the good matchups typically being saved for the main event. Now, how can two gladiators fighting each other be unfair, you might ask? Well, for starters, the emperors weren't really interested in fairness, as their primary concern was entertainment. And with over 20 different classes of gladiators to choose from, the styles would be mixed and matched based on entertainment alone.
Look at these fucking classes, bro. Scissor, Escus, Acidarius, Gallus, Gladiatrix, Hovolymphalus, Licarius, Escus, Cruphilifius, Cestus, Auribulus, and Abadata. So what the fuck are these classes though, bro? Just be like big, small, and medium. And like huge. That should be like the only classes, bro.
On entertainment alone, here are some of the most unfair and popular matchups. Retiarius versus Secutor.
Think about it. It's like a linebacker versus a cornerback. It's an interesting matchup though, cause like guy's big and strong though, but this man is like definitely faster though. So it's kind of like evens out if you think about it though. But that shit would actually be interesting though. Like I can see why they would do that though.
The Secutor. Retiarius were equipped with a net, a trident, a dagger, and minimal armor, while the Secutor was equipped with a sword, a large shield, a helmet, and heavy armor. Go ahead, pick one.
I feel like he would win, but like the range on this though make it seems like he have a better throttle, but he has less armor though. Fuck it, we'll go with the ball guy.
If you chose the Secutor, well, GG's, you're
yes,
dead.
Well,
as the Retiarius just had to keep his distance and poke at the
right?
Secutor. Or better yet, trap him by throwing his net on him, giving him enough time to emote before poking him to death. Alright, let's try another one. Murmillo versus Thorax.
Alright, Murmillo versus Thorax. I got my money on Murmillo.
Below were armed with a large rectangular shield, a short sword, a helmet, and a metal or leather sleeve for protection, while the thorax was equipped with a light shield, a curved sword, a helmet, and a metal or leather sleeve for protection. Go ahead, pick one.
I feel like the shield is way too heavy though, but I got
If you chose the Murmillo, rip, you're dead.
On,
the thorax just had to tire out the Murmillo since he was carrying the heavier shield.
Yeah, that's
As
like
you can see, stylistic matchups were a big deal and could easily influence the outcome of a fight. And I know this might come as a shock to some, but not all gladiator fights were to the death. A lot of fights would be called off when a fighter took heavy damage, since good gladiators were very expensive to replace. Number 7, animal battles. Humans were not the only ones to have unfair matchups inside of the Colosseum, since animals were also treated like criminals, pinned against each other, and humiliated. And was such a popular spectacle that at times, thousands of animals would be slaughtered in a given day, which was completely unsustainable, driving many animals to extinction. Here are some of the most popular and unfair matchups that were commonly seen in the Colosseum. Elephant versus rhino.
I got elephant winning though, bro, because like, nigga, the elephant is like what, 3 times its size? I got elephant all day. Elephant all day.
Famous Colosseum battles was when an enraged rhino was pinned against an elephant, with the elephant eventually winning when he decided to cheat by grabbing a spear with its trunk and gouging the rhino's eyes out. Lion versus tiger.
This got a tiger winning that shit though.
A robbery, as I'm sure the locals would have bet large amounts of money against the guys from out of town, since they knew that the lion always wins. With there only being one recorded incident of a tiger getting the best of a lion. Elephant versus bull.
Elephant.
Imagine when an animal has over 10,000 pounds on its opponent, it's not really going to be much of a fight, is it?
Yeah.
But just to make matters worse, sometimes the elephant and the bull would be chained together, forcing the action. And no matter...
Yo, now that's fucked up, but yo, imagine the bull trying to run away, bro, and that elephant just grabbing him. This is like 6'8", 280 pure muscle, and this is like the average Joe, bro. 5'8", 5'9", 5'7", 170 pounds, bro. This is victim weight right here, bro. Look at his face, bro. My nigga's a victim right here.
It would always end with the bull being turned to soup.
Damn.
Really quickly, here are some of the other animal fights that were very popular. Rhino versus bear.
I think I got rhino winning that one. Rhino should have won that one.
Versus buffalo.
Rhino winning that one.
Elephant.
Elephant winning that one.
Crocodile versus hippo.
Oof, that's a good one also. I got hippo winning that one.
Tiger versus bear.
I got bear winning that one.
Bear versus bull.
I got bear winning that one.
Versus wolves.
I got wolves winning that one though.
Arrow versus scorpion.
What the fuck? Got scorpion though. Hey, you can never go wrong with scorpion. If you play Mortal Kombat, bro, you guys already know scorpion, bro. Always the easiest character to use. Best character to use, bro. Easily.
Lion versus bull.
I'll give lion. I'll slightly give lion this one though, cause I feel like the bull will actually come closer, but I'm gonna give it to the lion.
Bear.
Bear
versus panther.
That one would be tough to see. I ain't gonna lie. That one would be tough to see. But the panther is gonna lose though. But that shit would be tough to see just because of Black Panther and shit. Yo, fun fact: I've never seen any of the Black Panther movies, and I'm being dead serious. Like I've never seen any of the movies. I am black. You guys will not take away my black card, bro. It's okay. I'm planning on seeing them soon before my man Franklin Saint becomes the new Black Panther. So you know, I'm gonna see it soon.
Versus chimp. Lion.
It's a lion.
Hyenas.
Give a lion.
Versus basically any animal the Romans can get a hold of. Number 6. 1 versus 2. This matchup...
That's fucked up, bro. Yo.
For either side, depending on the circumstances. Let me explain.
Ow.
There are 2 scenarios in which this matchup can take shape. 1. A high-level gladiator will take on 2 prisoners simultaneously. And
still, like, there's power in numbers, bro. Like, that high-level gladiator, like... If both of you guys charge him at the same time, bro, he's gonna be bound to lose, bro. Like, just jump the nigga.
Prisoners try their best to figure out how to properly hold a sword. They will realize that it's very difficult to do so, since their hands are no longer attached. Now, the second scenario is a bit more fair. 3 well-trained gladiators were placed inside of the Colosseum. 1 gladiator would be given heavy armor and a good weapon, while his 2 opponents would receive minimal armor and worse weapons. The duel...
That's not even fair. Let's be honest, bro.
need to work together to defeat the better equipped man. But being partnered up is not as easy as you might think, and does come with its own set of challenges. Like knowing whether you should go for the res or attempt to clutch up when your partner inevitably goes down.
Use that nigga as bait, bro.
The last and final way that a gladiator can be outnumbered is during large-scale battles. This one is, of course, purely based on luck alone, and doesn't always mean that you will see a 1v2 matchup, as it just might be a 1v6 depending on how bad you're.
Yo. That nigga catch. That nigga getting slid on by the group, bro. Shit, that nigga's not surviving that shit, bro.
Is number 5, woman versus dwarf.
Alright, that's a disrespectful ass fight. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that's one disrespectful ass fight. Why the fuck are you guys disrespecting the dwarves like that, bro? Like,
introduced the legendary matchup, woman versus dwarf. And I have to admit, this is the only battle on the list where a clear winner was not well documented. But even information we do have, I have a gut feeling that it just wasn't a fair matchup. I'm just not certain for whom. You see, on one hand, you have a fully grown woman who obviously has the reach advantage, while on the other hand, you have a male dwarf who is much stronger and obviously uses magic. How much stronger? Well, I'm not sure. I did, however, stumble upon this forum where a guy asked the same question back in 2011. Now, sadly, people just replied back with even more interesting questions that we will never get the answers to. And of course, naturally, the entire forum devolved into guys just bragging about how many dwarves they can take on at once.
I feel like three dwarves would be enough to take me down, though, cause I can see myself like trying to separate the two, and one just jumping on my back and just start choking me, bro. Like, no Diddy shit though, but like, I feel like 3 dwarves would be way too much.
One of the most bizarre things about this matchup was that Emperor Domitian liked to schedule this fight at night, since he preferred this battle when it was illuminated by torchlights. In 2010, a female gladiator's remains were found in England. After they were examined, it was concluded that the woman's legs and arm bones were unusually heavy,
Ooh, she got a little something.
She had strong muscles. You know, I was originally leaning towards the dwarf, but now I really don't see how they could possibly win. Number 4, wild animal hunts. Perhaps one of the most unique spectacles of the Colosseum was the wild animal hunts. Here, the entire Colosseum arena was made to resemble the animal's natural environment. A few men were then brought out to the arena equipped with small shields and weapons. Then
Hunger Games, basically. That's basically Hunger Games.
4 hours, the arena would be slowly filled with terrifying predators.
Oh, shoot, never mind. I thought they were the one doing hunting. Those guys are getting hunted. Have fun, y'all. Y'all not making it out alive at all.
If they really wanted to get the crowd on their feet, all the animals would be released at once. Sometimes...
Yo, that is fucked up, bro. Yo, imagine just like standing in the middle of that shit and you just see a fucking raccoon, a bear, a lion, bro, a pterodactyl, some shit like that, bro. Like,
men who were fighting the lions, bears, and panthers would have been well-trained fighters, while other times they would have been condemned criminals who were just given the death sentence and stood 0 to no chance of winning.
Fucked up,
Here
bro.
Are some of the animals you could have expected to make an appearance. Lions, tigers,
dead,
bears, elephants, rhinos, panthers, leopards, hyenas, wolves, boars, bulls, deers, ostriches, crocodiles, giraffes, camels, and shiprats.
Alright, bro. If you're the nigga listening to a rap, bro, shoot.
Shiprats were not invited, but they showed up anyways. Number 3, man versus beast. Man versus beast matches were one-on-one battles and were the second most popular spectacle, only behind gladiator fights. Now, there were basically 2 ways that this matchup would be arranged, with both of them tailored for maximum entertainment for the crowd. The first one was when a professional slave or volunteer fighter known as a best...
How are you a professional slave, bro? There's ranking to this shit, bro. We got house slave, regular slave, bum slave, and I'm a professional slave. Like,
Arius would face off with a terrifying beast. The animal could be anything from a lion, tiger, bear, or any other large and powerful creature. These battles would typically end with the animal being defeated, even if the bestiarius took heavy damage. On the other hand, the second matchup was much more bloody and typically ended with the man being torn to pieces. Here, a criminal or prisoner of war would be forced to face off with the animal. With little to no training, it was only a matter of time before the man would become an anatomy lesson. And it definitely didn't help that the animals were starved for long periods of time before they were brought out, making them
yeah, that shit's gonna make that shit worse, bro.
Angry and aggressive. There was even a single lion that took out over 200 men before it was finally defeated.
I ain't gonna lie, 201, that's a crazy body count though, bro. Yo, 201? That's a crazy KD, bro.
Padded record, since it clearly fought nothing but tomato cans. Oh, I should also mention, there is another event that was very popular and is somewhat related, where a criminal was tied to a stake, and then a wild animal would be released to eat him alive.
That's not even a fight, bro. That's just like a public execution at that point. Like, you have no chance, bro. Like,
think that this would be one of those situations where if you've seen it once, then you've seen them all type of deal. But apparently, some emperors love to show this one quite often. Number 2, prisoner versus professional gladiator. Easily one of the matchups of the Colosseum was when prisoners would face off against a professional and seasoned gladiator. The professional gladiator could have been a slave himself with many fights under his belt, or a volunteer gladiator that was part of one of the many gladiatorial schools. Either way, the criminal with 0 to no experience was basically sentenced to death. You see, what could be worse than being invaded, enslaved, and kept inside of a cell for days, just to be given a weapon you have never used, then pushed to the center of the Colosseum floor, only for Spartacus to make his walkout shortly after you. Number 1, rigged fights. What could be more unfair than rigged matches? Emperor Commodus was definitely the worst offender when it came to rigged matches. The emperor ruled Rome from 180 to 192 AD, and was even portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix in the 2000 film Gladiator. Commodus was obsessed with becoming a famous and well-respected gladiator, so much so that he would even compete himself. Well, if you could even call it that. An emperor fighting as a gladiator was unheard of. Now, of course, Commodus had the best training in all of Rome, and was actually very talented with the sword. But that wouldn't stop him from rigging fights by secretly injuring men just moments before they were brought out to face him. His opponents were injured in a way that could be concealed under their armor, but be devastating enough to hinder their performance or make a limb unusable. Another strategy that the emperor would use was simply fighting men with 0 to no experience,
so he's
making
like
for
Jake
another
Paul,
easy W.
Bro.
Emperor Commodus would have the longest undefeated record
like
as a gladiator, and it's suspected that he competed hundreds of times. He would also charge the Roman treasury around 25,000 pieces of silver every time he competed. There are many things you could call Emperor Commodus, but one thing you can't say is that he ever discriminated, since animals were also injured and thrown in to face him. Apparently, he killed hundreds of lions, ostriches, some giraffes, and on one occasion, even killed 3
What the fuck was scary about a giraffe, bro? Like, dude, giraffes are just like, chill. Just leave the giraffe alone. Like, there's nothing deadly about a giraffe, bro.
That were just laying on the floor. Now, as horrible as this all sounds, this was all just a warm-up. And in November of 192 AD, he held the Polybian Games, a festival that lasted around 2 weeks. There, Commodus shot hundreds of animals with arrows and javelins every single day. But if it makes you feel any better, 1 month after the Polybian Games, Commodus would be strangled to death inside of his bathtub by a professional wrestler named Narcissus. Which, for a man, that has to be the most embarrassing way to be found dead. Completely naked inside of a cold tub. You can't even explain your way out of that one.
Oh, you can't. Alright. Shoot, I went to the guys' YouTube channel. But if you guys, hit a little quick like and subscribe, bro. If you guys fuck with the video, leave a comment or anything. And we out.